Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Lee with another episode of Dermpath Made Easy, and today we're going to be talking about Sweet syndrome. There's another name that you have to know about for Sweet syndrome, and that is acute febrile neutrophilic dermatosis. So, Sweet syndrome is considered now as a neutrophilic dermatoses, but it is an autoinflammatory condition in which the body's own immune system sort of attacks itself. And so you would expect that individuals with autoimmune disease may be more likely to get these type of lesions. Now let's take a look at what this lesion looks like clinically. So these lesions they usually occur after upper respiratory infection, and it's pretty uniform. You get these very, very red, hot, and tender lesions on the skin here. Sometimes they could be bullous and very edematous, very red and hot, and the patient usually has some fever. And you can actually also get mucosal involvement. Here you see some involvement of the eyes, the sclera, and here's some oral involvement and as well as lip involvement. So these things could be very, very painful. They are associated with HLA B54 and other types of autoinflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus erythematosus, and inflammatory bowel disease are also commonly found in these individuals. So let's take a look at what this looks like microscopically. As you would expect, this is a neutrophilic dermatoses. So there are a ton of neutrophils here, and that's what you see, all this blue stuff in the middle, right? Another thing that you can see from this power is that there is massive subepidermal edema. So that's that pale area just underneath the epidermis. That's all this edema that's built up there. So that is often why these lesions look bullous, because this edema is lifting the epidermal surface off of the actual dermis. Let's take a closer look at higher power here. As you can see, it's harder to make out here, but I guess some people confuse some of these cells with eosinophils, but they are all neutrophils. It's just hard to make out on this kind of format, this electronic format. But totally face of neutrophils, there's probably a couple, there's some lymphocytes in there, but the predominant infiltrate is neutrophils. If this had a bunch of eos in there, and we would also consider into the differential like a granuloma fasciale. But Sweet syndrome is unique in the sense that there are, you have this prominent subepidermal edema and this dense and diffuse infiltrative neutrophils. You may even see some, changes of leukocytoclastic vasculitis, and then that is totally not uncommon given the number of neutrophils. Maybe even in here, you see a little bit of fibrin deposits, definitely a lot of red cell extravasation. You can make out all that from there. Let's take another look at a different example. This is another example, and you can see this is really, really bloody, but same kind of pattern here. We have a diffuse infiltrate of a lot of cells in the dermis with this massive subepidermal edema, oftentimes lifting the epidermis up from the underlying dermis. Let's take a closer look at higher power. Again, a ton of neutrophils, a lot of neutrophilic dusting, and we call that leukocytoclasia. That's this fragmentation of these neutrophils. And let's see, so here you may even have some, fibrinoid destruction of vessels. It's really hard to make out, but tons of red cell extravasation, tons of edema. That's the picture we have here. Okay, here's a different example, and I'm showing you these examples because not every biopsy is going to look the same. So similar kind of process here, but you have massive subepidermal edema causing this lifting of the epidermis. But on this example, the neutrophils are not so prevalent. They're not so prominent here. And you do see some dusting of neutrophils in here, definitely a lot less than other cases. And you have red cell extravasation, not as robust as that last reaction, right? The other couple that we looked at. But this is also sweets. This one's also somewhat paucicellular compared to the first two, but definitely more than the last one. Again, massive subepidermal edema, numerous neutrophils, predominantly neutrophils. And this one doesn't really show as much karyorrhexis and leukocytoclasia. You do see red cell extravasation though. That is a consistent finding. Here's the final example I have. Massive subepidermal edema, a lot of neutrophils, and again, karyorrhexis nuclear fragmentation. So I wanted to briefly talk about how this lesion differs from all the other differentials I gave on that little unknown. So you would, I guess, an arthropod bite reaction would come into play. You know, most arthropod bites are going to have a bunch of eosinophils. There are bug bites that can give you neutrophils, but not to this extent usually. And also the degree of red cell extravasation, and also the clinical setting is also very important here. You know, typically upper respiratory infection, and may even have other autoinflammatory conditions. So that would help you differentiate. Another one that it's possible to mix up with is leukocytoclastic vasculitis, especially when the leukocytoclastic vasculitis is bullous. And it's just a matter of degrees. So histologically, a matter of degrees. The amount of leukocytoclasia, the amount of fibrinoid destruction of the vessel walls, and also the clinical setting. Those will all sort of help you tease those two apart. Finally, pernio. Pernio is generally a lymphocytic process. You do see this subepidermal edema. Remember, it's a superficial and deep lymphocytic process, and the location of those lesions are typically on, distal extremities, toes, fingers, that sort of thing. Well, I hope this helped. If you guys have liked this, please subscribe and share it with some people that you may think this would help. Thanks a lot. Until next time.